What's up everyone, my name is Mike and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the new 007 drop that's coming up this Sunday. We're going to talk about price predictions, game plan. Let's get into this. So interestingly enough, we have two drops this Sunday being the 007 drops. We're going to see one poster being dropped early, followed by a drop 3 hours later, which will be the motorcycle. Now, to be honest, I'm not that much of a 007 fan. I love the movies. I've never read the books, but I do consider myself, I guess, a fan enough that I'm willing to watch any movie that comes out that's 007. That being said, I'm not much of a collector in anything 007. I'm not that interested in collecting 007. So really with these, they're pretty low on my priority list. And we're going to get further into this as we progress in this video as to why I'm actually not probably even going for the drop on these. That being said, let's start with this blueprint. So this blueprint is of the glider that we've already seen having dropped a static and an animated version. So that's pretty cool, and I actually really like blueprints. So this is kind of a cool showpiece to really have, and it's interesting that they're putting it around an object, a collectible that's already been dropped. I'm really interested as to whether this kind of plays out in the future as VEVE grows and we get the VEVE-verse or whatever we can use our collectibles in, if this kind of plays a role in anything. But this is going to be a rare, and it's going to have 6,007 editions along with it. That's 007 at the end of that 6. And it's going to have a list price of 87 gems. It seems like it's just that poster. It's not a blind box drop, so that is just for that poster. And now when we look at other posters that have already been dropped for 007, we see a mixture of ultra rares and rares. And for the purpose of this video, we're not going to talk much about the ultra rares because this blueprint is going to be a rare poster. But for the most part, the ultra rares range from about 160 to about 200 gems right now on the floor price of them. And that's with 2,507 editions. But the rares see 4,007 editions. And that's when compared to the one that's dropping the blueprint, 6,007. So actually with this blueprint actually being a rare, and comparing it to these rares, it actually gets 2,000 more editions. Now there's 3 posters that we can compare it to, being that it's rare and being that it doesn't get an FE stamp. Now we saw with marking time became an FE, so maybe that's a little bit more valuable with that. Especially as more 007 posters get dropped, I think that having that FE stamp really makes it stand out more as more collectibles come in that are second, third, fourth appearances and so on. It really makes it stand out more, and I think that price will continue to go up bit by bit. And it makes sense because it is having the highest floor price at this current point in time. But let's take a look at the other 3. We've got Saffin's Lair at 65 gems as the floor price. We've got Whiteout with 80 gems as the floor price. And we've got To Die For as 85 gems as the floor price. So comparing this blueprint to those other movie posters, it's not a movie poster, it's a blueprint poster. So maybe that kind of stands out a little bit more, and maybe those who have collected the gliders will be after this blueprint. So on the optimistic side of things, this might list for 80 gems, maybe. But considering it has more editions compared to the other posters that are rare and don't have the FE stamp, much like this blueprint won't, I'd be surprised if it's 80 gems in the aftermarket, which is really interesting because it's going to list for 87 gems for you to actually purchase it. I think a lot of people are going to see this and kind of pass on it, to be honest, and not even go for the drops. So if you haven't been getting drops and you just want that rush of being able to get a drop, this might be the one for you to get in on. Just know that it might list, and it could definitely list lower than what you paid for it. And to be honest, the posters really haven't fluctuated too much, especially with this latest gem squeeze that continues to go on. And that means we really haven't seen much of an upside for these posters for this 007 series. Having said that, I do believe that there's more of an upside because I don't think that the 007 fan base has really caught on to what VEVE is and come over to VEVE yet. So perhaps as VEVE grows, these collectibles will become more and more in demand, and perhaps people will want to purchase them. But for now, I just don't think this is for me. Which brings me to the Triumph motorcycle, which is pretty cool that they've got Triumph in on this for this 007 motorcycle. It is going to be an animated digital collectible with sounds. So we saw that animated glider and the static glider, and the animated glider was really, really cool. You click on it and it folds out its wings and closes its cockpit, and you click on it again and it does the opposite. It doesn't have any sounds. But this motorcycle is going to have sounds plus it's animated. So this motorcycle is also going to be rare, and it's going to have 9,007 editions, and it's going to get the FE. Now, I don't think in this case that this FE is that interesting. To be honest, I don't think it's worth much, because how many 007 motorcycles are we going to see on the app? Probably not much. So getting that FE stamp, even though I go for first appearances and I go for first editions, I don't think that this is going to be so much in demand just because of the FE stamp. But let's compare this to the static and the animated glider. So we would compare this to the static glider because it's also a rare, and it got 5,007 editions. This animated bike also is a rare, and it gets almost double of the editions. Now we might mix in a little bit of this animated glider because it is animated, and this bike will also be animated, plus it'll have sounds. But that animated glider was an ultra rare, and it has 3,007 editions, so about a third of the editions that this motorcycle will see. Both of those static and animated gliders were both FE, so that's good to know. And the static glider is 120 gems, and the animated glider is about 500 gems. And those are the floor prices at this current point in time. So to be honest, I think the animated bike with sounds, you're gonna get somewhere in about 100 to 120 gems for it in the aftermarket once the dust settles and things start to pick up a little bit after that initial posting of people wanting to sell it right away, people picking it up, and then maybe about an hour after or so, we'll see the dust settle, and it'll be around this price range. Now, this motorcycle also is going to have a list price of 87 gems, so the upside is not that much in this short term for this. Now, the gliders have shown to have some demand for them as we've seen them peak and then come back down, much like other collectibles and unlike the posters. So if you wanted one of these, either the blueprint poster or the motorcycle, perhaps you're probably going for the motorcycle for that demand. Plus, I think there's utility in having that motorcycle with whatever VEVE comes out in the long-term future for being able to use our collectibles. But ultimately with these, I think I'm going to pass. I might go for the motorcycle, but I'm not willing to go for the poster if I think that it's going to be listed in the short term lower than what I actually paid for it to get it. I wonder actually if this is going to be even something that a lot of people don't go for and you be able to pick it up, you know, after the drop, not like it's going to sell out in seconds or less than a second. The bike, I'm sure there's going to be more demand for it, so that's going to go quick. But ultimately, these two, I think, get a pass for me. And that's where I stand on this. And to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that this is the drop we get after getting that MTL news. And the fee that's going to be with that, with the withdrawals being 10%, and that's much higher than I'm sure most people would like it to be. I feel like with that announcement, they should have had a much bigger drop to take people's mind off of that announcement, to have people excited more so for the future, and not a drop where I think that it's going to list lower than what you're actually going to pay for it to actually get it. Just my thoughts, just my opinion. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of my price prediction, what you think this is going to list at afterwards when the dust settles, and whether or not you're going to go for these. Like this video if you found this information helpful at all, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more. Thank you so much for watching.